Welcome to the Grind Chamber, where we roast the beans and carve the corpses, looking for that rare gem to make our life complete. We got a special guest for you today. Going to be amazing conversation in just a bit. A very special guest member of our Discord, here to talk with us about a whole host of topics. I think you're really going to enjoy that segment. We're going to get to the news as well, and we will be doing the hot take of the day. But first, we are going to read some comments. Yeah, we haven't done this in a while. And in fact, what I want to do is read the comments from our last podcast upload. So let's get right to it. A little over a week ago, I uploaded the second edition of the Grind Chamber podcast, which was me largely reading comments. And that's because I'm kind of lazy, but it takes a while, right? You gotta ease into this. You gotta get your format set up. You gotta get your guests lined up. There's so much planning that goes into putting a podcast together. I don't have a producer. I'm my own producer, but I think I got a pretty good formula here. But we're not just going to ditch the comments, right? Every week, we're going to scroll down on last week's podcast and we're going to read what you have to say. If you want to be featured in next week's podcast, make sure you put a comment on this podcast that you're listening to right now so we can get your comment on the show and talk about it. Super Ultra Mega X plus 559. I can't read the names, guys. I'm just going to read the comment. You guys' names are just insane. So glad YouTube got my letter. I am too. I'm glad you were one of the 9,000 to send YouTube a letter. I know who didn't send letters, okay? And I got my eyes on you. The war on Meta has just begun and we need you more than ever. I'm going to do my best to live up to your expectations. Hope life is being kind to you. Glad to see you post. Well, thank you very much, Scout Dave. Welcome back, man. You are a definitely maverick of the MH world. I enjoyed your builds and all, out of the beaten path. Amazing stuff. Well, thank you very much. Daryl Adams, welcome back. Love the content. Discovered you late. And while I'm still rediscovering World of Iceborne and haven't started Rise yet, I still enjoy your vids and mindset. And I mean, a lot of the info works for both games. And I'll likely be coming across a lot of your older stuff again once I get into Rise. Absolutely. Especially that defense video works in both games. Works in pretty much every Monster Hunter game. So yeah, a lot of the more general topics are applicable everywhere. Welcome back. I'm taking a break from Monster Hunter so I can catch up on my backlogs. I totally get that. I have like 50 games on my Switch and I play like one of them. We all miss you. You are amazing and we all care about you. Double heart. Well, thank you, Jack Irish. Care about you too. Nice seeing you again. I joined your Discord briefly a few months ago and you guys helped me understand SNS Guard Slash. But at 29 minutes in the video, you were talking about how you have explained in the past that the wyvern heads and the logos are only a signature and not an indicator of mainline. The thing is, though, how the hell are we supposed to know if you were serious? I couldn't tell if you were just being sarcastic in that video. LOL. I was being sarcastic, but also serious. These are a signature. It's an important topic. I'm being totally serious right now. It is an important topic to understand that there are not two teams to this, right? There's Kaname, there's Iichinose. Kaname games have the dragon heads. The Iichinose games don't. And that's pretty much it. We're not talking Monster Hunter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and Monster Hunter Portable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Portable. That's just not what it is anymore. The teams merged at 4U, or 4 and 4U. The platforms merged at 4 and 4U. Everything changed at 4 and 4U. For those of you who are not aware of the history of it, 4 was a Kaname game, but it was on a handheld, right? It was on a portable system. That was the beginning of the end of the A team, B team, if there ever was an entire team. That's where the two paths ended. They merged at 4U and just went forward from there. So now we have two different directors handling the series. And you kind of have to do that because these games take 5 years to develop. And you don't want to wait 5 years for your next Monster Hunter game. Although Wilds has taken way too long to come out. So a little disappointed there. Hey, you're back. I was about to shine the bat signal to see if you were still out there. This was awesome. I checked the other podcasts too, and those were great. Looking forward to who you're going to bring on. And I heard J-Can is looking for a script. See you on the next one. I'll get a hold of J-Can and see what he's up to. You're going to love today's guests. I will guarantee that you will love today's guests. How can I know that? Because I am psychic. I can see the future, as you already know. Hey, J-Can, my man, welcome back. Can't watch this whole thing right now, but I can leave this comment and drop you a like to help you jump on the algo. Well, thank you very much, J-Can. Glad you're back, man. Love your voice, by the way. Up until I started recording my voice, I never liked my voice. And now I think it's pretty good because of all the positive and affirming feedback that you guys have given me. So thank you for that. Yes, the biggest Monster Hunter Giga Chat is back, baby. Face reveal. I know you're being sarcastic, but I honestly went to your page last week because I genuinely missed your videos. Well, like I've said before, I miss you guys too. And I'm back. So there's our comments from last week's podcast. Now, what I want to do is to get to some comments that might have something maybe controversial or maybe something to really get into the meat of. So let's take a look at another recent video, How to Casual, the Casual's Guide to Monster Hunter. This was a list of things that you can do if you just want to engage with the game on a casual level. You don't want to get really, really into it. I did put the trigger warning up there for people who get triggered when I say certain types of words and phrases and talk about certain topics. So if you get triggered by things like speedrunner related talk or casual versus hardcore, or if you get triggered by the thought of not playing meta build or something like that, don't watch this video. Please, please, I beg of you, don't watch this video. I want you to stay healthy, okay? But some of you did watch it. 23 of you felt the need to leave a comment. So let's see what you guys have to say. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak is my first Monster Hunter game. At the start, I follow the meta build, which is really the worst start for me. I always get cart because there's almost no defense. After watching your videos, I started using equipment that gave me quality of life. Now I really enjoyed this game. Thanks. Yeah, that's a big point right there. If you think you can jump into a brand new game using what somebody recommends that high level players use, you're gonna have a bad time. It doesn't matter what game you're jumping into. A reply to that, you really have to understand the monsters you're fighting to go no defense, especially the first couple of times you fight a monster. Defense helps a ton because you're learning the meta guides are for sweaty tryhards. That's kind of what I just said. But yeah, when you first start playing the game, you don't know where the hits are coming from. So you need the defense, you need the safety, you need the comfort for sure as you are learning the game. And if you don't play the game for 3,000 hours like I do, you will never learn the monsters to the point where you aren't going to get hit very often. So if you're engaging on a casual level, I would say if you're engaging on less than 200 or 300 hours, don't try to run meta builds. Just don't do it. Next comment, just do what somebody else is doing and try to do it better than them. There's a quote from my video. This is so true. And not only for speedruns, this applies to any activity. And I got into my job with this mentality. That can work. Yeah, that can work. I don't know how successful it is for speedruns, but there are aspects of life where that does work, sure. What you described about just getting whatever armor looks good to you is my exact experience with the very first Monster Hunter. My character wore Kizu Helm, Monoblos, Gravios, Rathalos. No skills, love that game. That's is that what we all do? At least once, right? At least 15 minutes, that's what we're doing. Some of us for the entirety of the game. I wholeheartedly disagree with this one at 13:17. I don't care if you are a casual. If you're only there to watch me take the monster by myself, then go watch a stream. Obviously, it's fine if you do it for like a minute or two to learn the monster patterns or look for openings, also for healing, sharpening, etc. But if you're only there to watch, sorry, but you are getting kicked out of my quest, and that's coming from someone that plays with newbies regularly. A far better advice is that if fighting a monster is really difficult to you, but you want to get it done anyway, just play support. It's fine. There's other ways you can contribute other than bonking at the monster. Get a bunch of traps, bomb barrels, and maybe a hunting horn. That way, even if you aren't fighting the monster, you're helping. Prowler mode and Generations was basically this, so it's a legit way to play, but please don't just be a spectator, especially on Master Rank. Excellent point. If you're spectating, if you're in Master Rank, you shouldn't be spectating. You got to Master Rank, just quit spectating. When you're just getting started out, though, your first few quests, and you have no idea what to do, watch what other people are doing. That's fine. On the other side of that, if you're opening your quest up for other people to come in, let them know what your expectations are. Because without setting those expectations, what you're saying is anyone can come in and join the quest and just do whatever they need to do. So if you don't want people cheesing off you, just let them know up front. I just want to say thank you so much for this video. I started playing Monster Hunter about 2 years ago with no prior knowledge to the franchise, and I was looking up resources at the time to help me get better at the game, and all the videos I saw at the time plus certain types of fans made me feel so overwhelmed and lacking that it made me feel like I needed to put 1,000,000+ hours into it to truly enjoy the game, and that I had to enjoy the game a certain way. What I did improve it kind of sucked all the fun out of it, and this video gave me so much reassurance and validation that not everything has to be perfect in its own. Okay, I can't read this fast, guys, but we get the gist. It inspired me to get back into it. Thank you. Yes, this is awesome. Monster Hunter community is filled, and I mean filled, with creators, right? The people who make Monster Hunter videos largely are people who are making videos about, you have to play the game this way. You have to do an awesome, super best, coolest. They like to use the word meta. They like to use the word broken, overpowered. They like all this stuff. So that's all you see out there on YouTube, people making these kinds of videos. And so you start to get the sense that this is the only way you can succeed in the game. This is how you have to do it. So a lot of new players, just like you, have gone through this same thing. They see these videos, they see these playstyles, they see these recommendations. They think you can't do it any other way. And it's like work. It becomes like work. We don't play these games for work. We play them for fun. So you can play it so many different ways and have so much fun. I really thought this was an April Fool's video. Missing some good bow build videos lately. Still using bubble dance with my bows. Awesome skill. Definitely is. Bubbly dance is great. You know, when I first wrote the script for this How to Casual, I was kind of leaning toward a sarcastic take on it. But the more I got into it, the more I realized this is all true. This is real. This is how most people play the game, and that's okay. Really, it is. You know, I know more people personally, like in real life. I know more people who play Monster Hunter casually than they play it hardcore. That's just truth. That's just truth. I've spoken, even if I haven't met them in person, I've spoken in chat and so forth. I've spoken to more people who engage with Monster Hunter on a casual level than on a hardcore level. So it's foolish for us to ignore that fact and to ignore that segment of the player base. Why should we? You know, why should we only make videos for people who are dedicating 2,000 hours to the game? What's wrong with talking to the people who play it for 200? Fucking love this so much, man. Thanks. You're very welcome. I tend to see join requests more similar to SOS Flare, so I wouldn't recommend joining on one if you don't think you can contribute much, but I would absolutely recommend using it if you're struggling on a hunt or just want to run it with other people. That's a good bit of advice, right? If you aren't that great at the game, if you join someone's quest that's already in progress, they're probably looking for help. All right. They're probably not looking to carry. So you might have better luck if you're the new player, you might have better luck sending out the flare yourself or sending out the join request yourself and then having other people come in, because I think they're more likely going to be in a position to help you rather than if you join their quest. I love your videos. Finally, someone that isn't all about DPS and clear speed. Finally, there's a couple of us out there. I'm surprised you didn't mention the other good thing about running in circles on your Palamute, and that's healing. If you don't know the monster pattern yet, odds are you're going to be low on health when the monster is aggressive. So yeah, heal on your Palamute, or call your Palamute, drink your potion. Drinking a potion on the ground reduces your mobility. Drinking a potion on your Palamute allows you to heal while moving around. That's amazing. I also sharpen. If the monster runs away and I need to sharpen, I'll get on my dog and ride to the monster while I'm sharpening. I'll also take my potions then as well. So yeah, that dog is very convenient. It's virtually impossible to tell if someone in your session is, quote, bad at the game, unquote, unless you're actively watching them. Good point. I think I've genuinely met like 2 people I would say are not adequately prepared for their matchup, and they were in Tri or 3 Ultimate. A lot of people would bring fire weapons against monsters with fire immunity. I saw a lot of that in Tri as well. And a lot of that has to do with the availability of information we had back then. We didn't have the YouTube channels. We didn't have all of the websites. We didn't have all this data and knowledge ahead of time. And so you kind of had to learn as you go. And we didn't have damage numbers either. So if you were doing 10% rather than 100%, you had no idea how to tell. So it was a different time back then. It's kind of hard to get very far in the game and be genuinely bad at it. And the worse you are, the more consciously you're mitigating that for your team. It is pretty easy to clear the game while being bad at it, as long as you keep doing join requests. But to get much deeper than the end credits, yeah, you've got to develop some skill. So to get deep into master rank, to get into the anomalies, you're rarely going to find people who still haven't figured out the basics. That's true. Let's see. The more consistently you're mitigating for your team because statistically you're a pro-social person and wants everyone to have fun and succeed. Monster Hunter is designed around you. That is absolutely true. Monster Hunter is designed around pro-social people. Monster Hunter is designed around cooperative gameplay. That's been at the core since the inception, since before they wrote a single line of code. Monster Hunter was intended to be and designed as cooperative multiplayer, and that's never going to change. That's fundamental to what Monster Hunter is. In before the speedrunners, oh sorry, casuals get here. Reference to the fact that so many speedrunners are actually casuals. They're also speedrunners, but you know, they don't have thousands of hours in the game. Oh wow, thanks. I just got Rise and didn't know there was a random join system that exists. Only playing solo is an interesting experience, but got me burned out real fast. Yeah, definitely. Can anyone tell me how to unlock the anti-dragon rampage decoration? No, I can't right off the top of my head. I was hoping someone could come to the Discord server. That's what the Discord server is for. I like the 2 tips to have casuals quit after fighting Narwa or do solo speedrunning. Those 2 options for them are perfect for me too. So this guy does not want to play with casuals, is what he's trying to say. Quit when you're done with Narva or go do solo speedrunning. Don't play online with me. I have like around 500 hours in each Monster Hunter game, and it's funny to say that's pretty damn casually comparative to others. It is though. 500 hours in Monster Hunter is casual level commitment. What in terms of Monster Hunter commitment? Okay. For other games, I don't know what it is, but 500. All right, you're crossing a threshold there, somewhere in there, multiple 100 hours to the point where you're no longer casual. You're getting into the hardcore mode. I mean, it's a spectrum, right? It's a shame that Rise released unfinished, and yeah, grinding to MR50 is a bit of an ask, but given how quick it is in Rise, nor near the ask of something like MH Worlds, Monster MR100 for its finale, it just depends on your perspective. You know, a lot of people picking up base game Rise will get to Narwa, and they'll be done. Don't credits roll at Narwa, right? Is that true? If they don't, then I was mistaken. I said the wrong monster. What I meant was the first credit roll. So wherever that comes, a lot of people will just play it to the first credit roll and they're done. And that's fine. That's why those credits are there. That's a signal from the developers to the casual player. Okay, you're done. You can move on. You enjoyed yourself enough. Move on to the next game. How to casual just play Rise Break. Based on recent world gameplay numbers, a lot of people going back to play Monster Hunter World Iceborne because a casual told them to. I'd say World is the place for casuals right now, honestly. You know, you have a video game streamer who is a casual Monster Hunter player, extremely casual, and then you have a million people who watch him who decided to start playing Monster Hunter World because the casual streamer did. Not trying to pick a fight here, but if you were to play World right now, you would encounter far more casuals than you would if you were to play Sunbreak. So that's just the reality of the situation at this point. Some good points there, guys. That was cool. We learned some things. Nothing too controversial in those. And so next week we'll probably hit a video that I get a lot of heat for, that have gotten a lot of, shall we say, interesting takes. All right, so we did some comments. We have our guest coming up, just a few more minutes. He's in the green room right now getting ready. I think he's sipping some tea and having some biscuits, and he's actually working on something special for us. He's constantly writing. He brings his laptop with him everywhere he goes. I don't know, I'm just making this up, but is in fact right now working on something very special. He's going to be with us in a few minutes. What I would like to do right now is give you guys some insight into what's happening in the world of gaming in general. We're going to step back away from Monster Hunter and take a look at the big picture of gaming news. And to do that, today we're going to look at the Google News gaming section. Now, something you guys need to realize about news, especially technology news and especially gaming news. These so-called news articles are not news. These are press releases. This is publicity. All right, so these are all commercial messages. Some of them are actually paid commercial messages. Some of them are not. Almost everything you see on this news site is there to promote a video game, an upcoming one or a current one or a patch or, DLC or something. So this is all advertising. So what I want to do is cut through the crap of advertising and get to something that's actually interesting. So let's see what we got. Can we find something interesting in the world of gaming news that's actual news? Here's something that sort of is news. That is definitely, it's interesting. Slay the Spire 2 devs followed through on abandoning Unity. Now this sounds like news. It's not. They're just promoting their upcoming video game. But what's interesting about this is a bit of information that's interesting to me. First, let's just step back a little bit and talk about what happened. Right, Unity, as you guys know, is a video game development environment, a game engine, assets, all kinds of tools to build video games. Not just an engine, but it's like everything. It's an all-in-one package to make video games. And people who were using Unity and paid their licensing fee to use it, well, the people who make Unity retroactively changed the licensing. So yeah, which is questionably legal. Right? It's probably not even legal to do so. When you enter into an agreement with someone, they can't just change that agreement without your permission. So what they did was they were trying to collect more money from certain developers at a different rate, like a different royalty rate that the developer had never agreed to. So they're going to do this retroactively. So games had already been published, were already on the shelf using Unity under a previous license. They were then going to start trying to charge that company more licensing fees for how successful that game was. And people they freaked out. And I would too. If I was a developer, I would do exactly what these guys did. All right. The guys who developed Slay the Spire, who used Unity to develop it, have said at that time, they said, we're not going to use Unity anymore. Upcoming games will not use Unity. And they followed through. Their sequel, Slay the Spire 2, is now using the Godot game development environment. So Godot's a game engine with lots of cool tools, and it's free, by the way, no licensing fees. For something like Slay the Spire, I'm surprised they didn't use Godot to begin with. You don't need Unity to build a game like Slay the Spire. I mean, if anything, they're just admitting that they made a bad choice to begin with. They should have gone with Godot right from the start. If you guys are familiar with a game called Brotato runs on Godot. A lot of games are running on Godot now. It's a nice system and free. Don't got to pay licensing fees. So Megacrit is the name of the studio. Yeah, good. Open source Godot. It is cross-platform, by the way, as it says here. Yeah, see, this is still just an advertisement, but I find that interesting that people are ditching Unity. At least people who said they were going to ditch Unity are following through. That's cool. Let's see what else we got. So you can see these are press releases. Overwatch 2 introduces harsher punishments for players who leave mid-match. Okay, Season 10. So that's just an advertisement for Overwatch 2 Season 10. That's all it is. They're making it sound like it's news, but it's not. It's just, hey, Season 10's out. Why don't you come play Overwatch 2? Helldivers 2. So updates to games, great. Movie trailer, Sonic 3. There's a Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Wow. I guess they're making money. This is not news. This is just a straight up advertisement. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And they want it to sound like you can get it for $20. No, you get it for full price minus $20. It's still $65. But look, everyone reports it as $20 off. To make you think, oh, Mario Kart 8 for $20. No, $20 off. All right. Disney is making more video games. Is that something we really care about? No one cares. There's another one, a patch for a game, big deal, game announcement. Like there's no actual news. It's just advertising. So this is very difficult to find anything even interesting. Like what's happening? Like is anything happening? I don't know. Nintendo Switch Online Super NES library got 3 times bigger. That's a press release. Come buy our product. This is news because they're not announcing a game. Distributed Studio Possibility Space abruptly shut down by Britannia Media. Shut down, closed without warning. Possibility Space, its second studio. I've never heard of these companies before. Wow. And I've never heard of the games either. Maybe that's why they're shutting down. Projects they were working on are likely dead. No comment on why. All right, well, at least it's news. It doesn't tell us much about anything I have ever heard of before, but at least it's news, right? Raising prices. Rockstar needs even more money. GTA 6 fans are furious over price increase at Rockstar Games. Are they though? Oh, it's the subscription service. Wow. Okay. So you got to wonder why that's happening, right? Is Rockstar raising the subscription service fee so that when GTA 6 launches, people will just see that as a better deal and go buy that? Is this a sales tactic? I mean, they're priming us, right? This is actual news. Snuck some news in there. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Splatoon 3 World Championships get underway this weekend. Yeah, scheduled for a later date. Well, that later date is now. What does it take to even get into the World Championships? Are these regional champions that get sent to the big tournament? I don't know. I don't know anything about this. If you guys know about this competitive gaming stuff, drop me a comment. Give me some explanation. These guys are athletes, by the way. Esports is an athletic endeavor. That's awesome. I don't know anything about this. And this isn't telling me. Let's see. Germany's Kaiser will be representing Germany's Kaiser, really? Will be representing Europe in the Splatoon competition after taking home a dominant win against Golden Ratio in last year's European finals. The continent will also be represented on the Mario Kart side of things, with France's Thomas clinching his spot back in 2023. Who is representing North America? I don't know. Oh, here it is. For North America, Team Jackpot will be bringing their fun, goofy unpredictability to Splatoon 3 tournament, while the Mario Kart competition will see Kivo coming in hot after winning. I don't want to see Kivo coming in hot, okay? Wow. World Championships. Great. Does anybody watch this? I prefer to play games than to watch them, so I've never really been interested in esports, but it's actual news. Why there are 861 roguelike deck builders on Steam all of a sudden. Speaking of Slay the Spire, here we go. They're there. Slay the Spire's starting point. Yeah, a lot of people who love Slay the Spire are building their own game. Spell Rogue. It also has dice. Dev Hell. All right, Wild Frost. Do you guys play any of these games? Are you guys interested in roguelike deck builders or any type of deck builders? I mean, people talk about Slay the Spire as kicking it off and probably as a roguelike, yes. But we had Magic the Gathering online, and then Blizzard came up with their deck builder. I can't even remember, but that was a long time ago. I'm pretty sure that predates Slay the Spire. All right. Anything else interesting? Google News. Ooh, this sounds like news. Ubisoft is stripping people's licenses for The Crew weeks after its shutdown. Wow, what is happening here? Ubisoft is deleting The Crew from players' libraries. The company is pulling licenses from paying customers now that the servers have shut down. So you shut down the servers and you get your money back. Wait, no, you lose your license. You can't play the game anymore because it was an online-only game. Well, there you go. There you go. You bought into an online-only game. It says 9 years later. Did I see that? I mean, that's the downside, right? To playing an online-only game. What happens when the servers go down? What happens when the company goes out of business? Or what happens when the company just doesn't want to manage the servers anymore? Do you have your game anymore? Can you accept the fact that you purchased a game and then however many years later, you can no longer play that thing that you purchased? Is that okay to you? It's like you rented the game, right? I'm renting this game for an indeterminate, unspecified period of time. And at whatever point in time, the company can take it away from me. So I'm paying for the experience of playing rather than paying for a copy of the game itself. You know, back in my day when we didn't have everything hooked into the internet, yeah, you bought a copy of a game and it was yours to keep forever. And now those games that we bought when we were little children are selling for $100,000 a piece. That's how valuable they've become as collector's items, as long as you got it like new in box. But today, games aren't like that, are they? We download them digitally. Some of them you can only play if you have an internet connection, and you don't even get to play it if and when the company decides they don't want you to play it anymore. Pretty crazy. Yeah. We pay money for these products. We think we own them, but we don't own a damn thing. Read the terms of service from Ubisoft or any other major games publisher for proof of that. And then Ubisoft Director of Subscriptions recently said players will become comfortable with not owning their games. Oh, really? Maybe. I don't know. I'm obviously not a 12-year-old, so I don't know what the younger generation thinks of this idea. Maybe they don't understand it at all or care. Maybe you should ask the people who have a stake in this. I tend to avoid Ubisoft games lately myself, and I avoid online-only games too. Call me old-fashioned. It's kind of true. I do have a podcast though. So news is hard. Gaming news is hard. There's so little, actual gaming news. Next week, what we're going to do is find a better source for our gaming news, because Google News is an aggregator. It's all done by algorithms. So it's going to be whoever's publicity firm gets them, better placement. Larian publishing director slams game studios laying off employees. This is interesting because this is kind of a hot topic right now. There have been an unprecedented number of layoffs from within the video game industry recently, with CEOs often claiming the streamlining is necessary to survive in a competitive market. Larian director of publishing Michael Dowse says the statements are bull, noting that none of these companies are at risk of going bankrupt. 9,000 layoffs across the video game industry in 2024 so far, from companies such as EA to smaller ones like Deck 9 Games. Larian Studios director says this is just a stupid thing to do. Why are you firing your employees, basically, is what he's saying. And they think, oh, they're just at risk of pissing off the shareholders. And then he repeats this line: the function of a public company is to create growth for its shareholders. It's not to make a happy climate for the employees. That's just not true. But that I can understand people who are frustrated, or people who like to rail against big business, like to use that as the rationale for why these layoffs are happening. But the fact is, that's not why these layoffs are happening. The fact is this: game publishers are software companies. Think about that. Take a second to think about that. Video game developers and publishers are software companies. Video games are software. Software companies historically, and still to this day, have a habit of not really seasonal per se, but they hire and fire based on the product development cycles. Large software companies will keep tens of thousands of people on staff that they're not even W-2 employees. They're contractors. Okay. So they're hired on for a specific period of time, 6 months or a year, and they may or may not get their contract renewed. And they do this for financial reasons, but it's part of how the industry works, and game developers are no different. Now, are these people brought on as contractors? No, probably not. Probably most of them are brought on as W-2 employees, but I don't know if that's true. But whether or not they're W-2 or 1099 doesn't matter. They're going to hire when they need headcount to complete a project. And when that project's done and they don't have another project to get them working on it, they're going to fire them. They don't want to pay them salary to do nothing. All right. So it's not a matter of pleasing shareholders. It's a matter of poor planning. These companies plan their human resources, if you will, around the product cycles. They don't create a company that has a pool of employees that they're always keeping busy on lots of different projects. They just don't know how to manage it. They're just not good at it. Now, not all software companies are that way, and not all game developers are that way. No. The two that I like to bring up are Nintendo and Capcom. Nintendo and Capcom have massive staff, like thousands of developers on staff that are full-time employees long-term. Yeah, they do have interns and stuff too, but they hire people for the long term. And they're big enough companies, and they're well organized enough that they can have multiple projects going at the same time. And when people finish working on one project, they can get assigned to another project. So they can always keep their employees busy. And those types of companies are far more stable, far more productive, and far more satisfying to work for than someone like EA, who is hiring and firing based on the product development cycle. They got a big project coming up. They're going to hire 100 people to get started on it. And when they really need to ramp up development, let's say they need to get, their artists and their, people who manage the assets on board, they'll hire another 100 or 200 or whatever it is. And then, all right, we need some play testers. Let's go hire some play testers. Oh, we forgot to build the online component. Let's go hire some network developers. And then when they're done with their assignment, if they can't find another project to work on, they get the pink slip. That's all there is to it. Okay. It's not about going out of business. It's not about pleasing your shareholders. It's about, this is how the companies are run. And the people who run those companies, that's what they're familiar with. And that's how they want to do it. you don't have to do it that way. You can still be accountable to your shareholders without firing people if you just manage your business properly. So that's pretty much it. You can say, oh, shareholders, this and that, but that's just a way to disguise what's really happening. All right. That's just a way to not actually get at the heart of the matter. It's a way to dismiss the real problem. And the real problem is the companies aren't managed very efficiently. And so this is the result. No big deal. If you don't like it, don't buy EA games. If you don't like developers who do crunch time, who do forced overtime, stuff like that, don't buy the games. If you don't care, then whatever. I mean, I don't pay too much attention to it, but I don't really play games by big publishers anyway. Capcom and Nintendo are the two exceptions. I'll play those games, and it's very rare that I'll play a game from another big publisher. So that's our news for today. Not a lot going on right now, but we're going to get some big news soon. I feel it coming on, and there are some sort of advertisement promotional announcements I'm waiting for. Don't get me wrong. I do like to hear them from time to time, but just the ones I'm interested in, right? I don't care about Sonic 3 movie. I don't care about what's happening with Red Dead Redemption, but when we get that Monster Hunter news, I'm going to be all over that. When we get any update on Nintendo's new hardware, I'll be all over that too. And now, folks, it is time for the segment of the podcast that you have been waiting for. Very special guest today. I am very glad he's here with us. I am very pleased to have him on the show. Everybody, welcome Peanut.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here.
I have a little note in my podcast notes. It says I was going to do this little thing where it's called Get to Know the Guest in 5 Questions. And so I want to throw these at you real quick. These are going to be off the top of my head because I have not prepared at all for this. So
sounds exciting.
I'm as prepared for this as you are. Okay, so I have to think of these 5 questions as quickly as I can. So while you're answering the first one, I am going to think of the next one. All right, here we go. First question for our guest. Have you ever done any speedrunning in Monster Hunter?
I have. I did a brief stint of a couple speedruns. The oldest history I have in speedrunning Monster Hunter is sort of a semi-challenge run, semi-speedrun. I was one of the only people, and possibly only person to my knowledge, that has completed Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate with only dealing shelling damage, which would technically also make me the world record holder for it.
Nice. Wait, you completed Gen Ultimate. So by completed, what do you mean by completed?
Defeated a Tulka, and I got a large way into the deviants and the events, but most of them can't be finished due to shelling damage limitations.
So basically story. Completed this story.
Yeah, full story of MHGU has been completed.
With just shelling damage.
Yep, shells only.
That's ridiculous. Also,
no pokes, no slams, shells only.
That's just crazy. That sounds like something. Have you heard of a YouTuber called Reaver
No.
That's something he would do. That's the
type
is that
of
the
videos. Person that does the sharpness challenges?
Yeah, stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah, it's very much in the same vein.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. Now, do you happen to have that on video?
I do not, sadly. I did this way before I realized it was something that people would want to see.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got the character and I've got the build, but that's it, really.
That's insane, though.
I guess I could technically recreate it for anyone that was in my GU lobby, but that's about it.
So let's back up. I'd like to introduce to you today the world record holder in completion time for Generations Ultimate shelling damage only, right here, Peanut. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right.
That was the first time I'd ever technically done something which you could say was an achievement that either hasn't been done before or hasn't been done to that extent. The second time was I got reasonably competitive times for the, now I get this right, Monster Hunter Rise Switch Demo Mizuzune Gun Lance. Which is a very long set of descriptors because it's such a specific category.
But it is a category, and it does exist as a record somewhere on at least one website. Now, you held the world record for completion time. How long did you hold that record? You're not currently the world record holder.
A very, very short amount of time. I snuck it in there basically the same day the demo came out just because I could.
Nice.
And I put it up and I said, I did it! And then it sort of just ended after that. It must not have been longer than 5 minutes.
That's awesome. All right.
But I can play to a speedrun level at the very least. That is something I have done.
Yes. Nice. So what I could introduce you if you ever come on the show again, two-time world record holder. Uh,
Ooh,
second question, that was like 20 questions in one, but second
it
question,
was.
getting to know the guest. Uh, what was your first Monster Hunter game?
My first Monster Hunter game was Generations Ultimate on the Switch,
Okay, so
which was a pretty big undertaking.
yeah, and so right from the start, you said, you know what, just shell damage.
Yep, it was very much my first playthrough ever.
That's amazing.
I mucked around with a bit for the first like 50 hours,
Yeah.
finding out which playstyle I liked. I started a new playthrough, new character, and shell damage from that point onwards.
Wow. All right. Yeah, I told you guys this is a very, very special guest today. That takes a very special kind of person to dedicate themselves to such an
It was
endeavor.
fun for at least half of it.
Yeah, at least half of it. The first half or the second half?
The first half, not the second. The second half was awful. 45-minute hunts, not fun.
That's funny. Third question, getting to know the guest. So we talked about first Monster Hunter. We talked about your speed running challenges. You know, I had another question in my head, but it's completely slipped my mind.
That's gonna happen, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
all right.
that just goes with the territory of my brain. You, okay, here, I just remembered what it was. There's 14 or so weapons, right?
Yes,
In Monster Hunter. Are there any Monster Hunter weapons that you have not ever played?
several actually.
Oh, really?
Never in my history of playing this game, outside of just picking the weapon to see what it does and then put it away again, I have never played to any serious extent, nor cleared a hunt of dual blades and light bowgun. Ever.
Dual blades.
Dual blades and LBG. Never ever actually properly finished a hunt that wasn't like a 10-second low rank thing just to see what the weapon does. I've never played them to any serious extent. I don't know what they do. I have no clue what they are.
Okay, but so you have equipped them and
I have equipped them,
okay,
but never to the extent that I would say I know a single thing about them. I'm just
right.
aware you can press buttons and that they do things.
Right. So technically you have, I mean, have you actually cleared a quest with?
I think so, because I did LBG and GU once or twice.
Okay.
I did dual blades and Rise like once, I think
Okay.
actually once, and that should be it.
All right. So
So
technically,
there's weapons I've played a tiny amount,
yeah,
but not necessarily never.
gotcha. Technically, no, but if we really wanted to get into it, yeah, there'd be a couple. All right, that's fair. I honestly wasn't expecting an answer. I was expecting a no answer to that, like a solid no. Like, yeah, I've tried out everything, at least to the point where I decided I didn't like it. I mean, but you know, I know there's a lot of people out there who don't even bother touching, you know, at least half the weapons, you know.
Yeah, it's quite common.
Yeah. That was three questions. I can't think of any more questions right now, but if I do, we'll just
You just
interject
pivot
it.
back around to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, you know, those three questions tell us all we need to know about who you are as a monster hunter.
Oh, thank you very much.
Right. I mean, like what else could you possibly ask? What else would you even want to know about someone who played Monster Hunter? Like in terms of Monster Hunter knowledge about them, like what else could you possibly ask them?
I mean, maybe because I'm asking this question to myself, but I just ask, hey, is there any information that you know that you haven't shared yet?
Oh, you just want the
There
knowledge.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I love knowledge.
well, that leads us into our first topic of discussion. You are something of a, I wouldn't even know how to say this. You are a knowledge hound. You,
I hesitate the word scholar because it makes me sound cooler,
Right,
but I think
right.
knowledge hound is far better.
right. You're not publishing journal articles, so scholar might
No.
not be the right. Maybe a knowledge hoarder. So let's clarify that a little bit. What you've actually done for our Discord, which I think is awesome, and in fact, I think I created the forum on the Discord for you at your request to give you a place to put some of this knowledge. So maybe tell us a little bit about what people can find in our references, charts, and guides forum on the Discord server.
Right, yeah, that is basically my own little private section until someone else puts a guide there. It covers a lot of topics, mainly the ones I'm most interested in, although I'll flesh it out with things I just happen to have knowledge on and not super interested in later. Right now, you can find guides on the functions of guarding and how they work, a lot of the deeper intricacies of guarding and preventing damage in Monster Hunter. You can find information regarding both Rise and MHGU's gun lances and how they are meant to be played and function, different play styles, different things you might not have known. Part of it's fun facts, part of it's tips and tricks, just lots of interesting things I found on my travels.
Yeah.
Apart from that,
Well, just as
that's
an
most of it
example,
actually.
yeah, let's dig just a little bit into one of these. It's called Peanuts Tanking 101.
That's the good one.
And
It's a
you
lot.
have you have a list of things that raise your guard level, which obviously would be useful for tanking. You have a list of every move that has a counter, a block, a guard point, an iframe, a parry, uh, like just tons and tons of things. So like if you play a whatever weapon, any weapon, whatever weapon you're playing, you can look in this guide and find basically how to survive
Yeah,
big
something of
hits.
use in here
Yeah,
at least.
yeah,
It's more focused on the tank weapons, so
right.
weapons that get a lot of reward for blocking, things like Charge Blade, things like Longsword, things like Lance, but there is information in there for just about every weapon.
Yeah, nice. What is there a weapon that doesn't really tank well?
That's a really interesting topic, and I'm going to go off the rails here for an hour. There are weapons, I like to put them into three categories.
Yeah,
There's weapons that tank, and when I say that, I mean weapons that are directly rewarded for intentionally drawing aggro. So these are weapons that have either counters or mechanics that mean that when you are being targeted, either your DPS or your benefit to the team is going up.
right. And now,
Weapons that, for example, you want diversion on.
right. And this is interesting. This is an interesting topic because until recent Monster Hunter games, tanking just didn't exist, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's a
There,
very new concept.
there was, there were skills for trying to get the monster to avoid you, but they didn't trigger frequently or enough to really notice. And then
Hmm.
the idea of, being able to save your teammates just never existed in Monster Hunter. And then,
Absolutely.
yeah, and then the idea of drawing the aggro was just not a thing. Like so many other games, so many
Yes.
games out there that are designed around this concept of having a tank. And so, yeah, I think that's why, to me, it's interesting that that these features are starting to come into the game, and you can actually do some interesting things in Monster Hunter now with regard to this concept of tanking.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say it's, as you said, with MMOs and other games that function around having a tank, it's very similar because we're seeing a phase in Monster Hunter's existence now where people can actually start to slot themselves into roles or positions and craft their own little personal meta around what they want to do for the team, and it will function well. This is probably the first Monster Hunter game. Rise Sunbreak is the first Monster Hunter game where taking damage can be an objective way to pass the hunt,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
pretty shocking.
Yeah, that's actually probably a very accurate statement. I mean, previously you'd take damage to get your adrenaline to kick in or something like that, or heroics or whatever. But then, that's was largely solo stuff, or you got four people all
Hmm.
doing it at the same time. Whereas if that was your thing, if you wanted to make that your niche in your role in a team, it never really worked out that well when you're the only
Yeah,
guy
definitely
doing that,
not.
right? Because typically some guy would take on the healing role, and that would screw up everything you're trying to do.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the only reason we've even seen tanking in the type that we have in Rise is precisely because of these skills that reward you not for being on low life, not for taking damage, but for preventing it.
Right.
We now see things like counter peak performance on Charge Blade, Ready Starts as well, moves like Countermorph that tell you, I want to get hit, that would be the best thing for me.
Yeah.
And that also means other people aren't being hit at the same time.
How far have you taken these concepts? Like, have you built a play style around tanking to any great degree of success?
Definitely,
Yeah.
yes. There are several kind of silly things you can do that make tanking so much stronger. A great example being stink minks. You can pick them up and they lock monster aggro to you. They completely remove anyone else from the
Oh,
aggro list.
wow.
Only you can be picked.
Nice.
So that is a fantastic way to not only raise your DPS, imagine insta blocking every single attack because you know it's coming,
Nice.
but also being allowed to say, hey, everyone else, you get to strike the monster and there's no repercussions for it, that you
Wow.
can just go ham.
So we don't just use those to get monsters to follow us around the map.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
As soon as that white dust is on you, the monster's
Wow.
only locked onto you.
Nice.
So it's a very
Okay.
unique use of
And
it.
how long does that last? Like 20, 30
I
seconds.
haven't done research on it, but
Okay.
it's a surprisingly long time.
All right. That's useful information. I have never done that before. So I'm going to start doing that when I play Charge Blade because that sounds
Very
awesome.
cool.
Nice. Yeah, so that's tanking 101. There's a ton of info there. You've got just looking at what else we have. We have Peanut's cookbook Alchemy 101.
Ah, the alchemy one. That one's very unique.
This is yeah, wow. What tell us a little bit about this one.
Okay, so alchemy. Alchemy is really interesting. It supplies a really weird niche in GU that is neither healer nor tank or anything else, but some sort of weird extra thing. You get to craft items, and most importantly, if you get good at alchemy and practice your like build orders correctly, you can get to a point where you're supplying the team with enough buffs and a huge plethora of extra abilities and things that your own DPS going down is mostly unnoticed. And you can do it on a lot of different weapons that function quite well for it. I've heard of alchemy gun lance, alchemy insect glaive, alchemy light bowgun, switch axe, all very powerful weapons in GU.
Yeah, this is something that I never explored in GU.
It's
There's
very, very
yeah.
unique.
And we got a couple more guides in here. I'm going to let people come explore these on their own because there's tons of info. There's just a teaser. There's a nice Gunlance guide for Sunbreak if you are still playing Sunbreak. And there's a Gunlance guide for Gen Ultimate as well. So, of course, there would be, right? That was,
Yes.
that
That's
was
what
your world
started it
record
all.
right there. Yeah. Nice. I thought of another question and promptly forgot it again.
Great, great.
Yes, that's what I do. So, next topic. Next topic for our Gunlance master. First of all, do you consider yourself in the Monster Hunter universe? Do you consider yourself a weapon master?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I feel like mastery is something that's better expressed through gameplay than it is about knowledge.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the same reason why coaches don't go and do the things that they're coaching people for.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and they are two very different things, right? It's like because you can see there's a lot of coaches in pro sports, for example, that are former players, and so all right, so
Absolutely.
yeah, they used to be good, right? But now they're coaching. But there are some coaches who were never professional athletes,
Yeah,
and often they're amazing coaches. But and then you look at it like, how do you know how to tell me what to do when you've never done it yourself,
I've seen
right?
that a lot.
So
I work in a lot of different places. I've even been in esports, and it is a very strange feeling
yeah,
to be taught by somebody who, as far as you know, has no qualifications as to why they know these things,
right,
and they just do.
right.
Because coaching's a different skill set to playing in a lot of
Yes,
situations.
exactly. That's exactly it. And it's one thing to know how to shoot a basketball, because a lot of like I watch a lot of NBA. These players they have coaches that are just for shooting the ball, putting the ball in the basket. That's all they work on, just your jump shot. That's all the coach knows how to do. And like if the coach, like you think, oh well, if the coach is that good at shooting, why doesn't he just get out there and become a superstar? Well, it's one thing to know to be able to observe how someone does something and then to know how to give them the right feedback and know the mechanics of it and know the theory behind it, and it's another to be able to do it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a big, big difference. I've actually recently taken to coaching in another game I'm relatively near to professional at, Vermintide 2.
Okay.
That's a game I've been coaching some people in, so I
Nice.
very much appreciate the different skill set thing. Playing the game and sometimes teaching the game can be very different tasks because of the communications.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have to tell anyone what to do when you play the game generally, but you
Yeah.
have to tell people what to do when you're coaching.
Right. Right. Yeah, and being able to communicate that and being able to observe someone more objectively than maybe they'd observe themselves and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So I wouldn't say I'm weapon master, no. It's
Right.
more of a case of I have lots of knowledge, I'm willing to share it,
Yeah.
and I hope other people use that knowledge to master the weapon themselves.
Yeah. So I have another question for you regarding weapons.
Oh, will we hit
Do
5? Yay!
well, this isn't one of the 5 getting to know,
Oh
but this is
no.
more of our discussion topic questions.
Mhm.
What experience do you have outside the game of Monster Hunter with regard to like actual weapons, like IRL
Ah,
weapons?
yes. IRL weapons, yes. So I have done a pretty tremendous amount of research when it comes to real life weapon arts and combat. It's I'll say tangentially related to my actual job, and it's something that I have a very big passion for.
Nice.
I mean, heck, right now in my room, if I were to look to my immediate left, there is actually a weapon rack
Nice.
for real.
Nice.
So
And
it's
what,
definitely something I do a lot, a lot.
maybe that's one of the 5 questions. What is on your weapon rack right now?
Well, right now, okay, right. So we've got that's a set of taunt fur. Then we've got broadsword. That's a katana. That's a training sword. And that down there is a Chinese Dao for right
Nice.
now. I tend to shuffle them quite a lot though, so maybe next week it'll be some staves or whatever.
Nice. I'm gonna keep all 5 of these questions. I think we have 4 or 5. Speed run. I'll try to remember them after the fact, but that's definitely going in the 5. What's on your weapon rack right now? So, of the items on your weapon rack that's not in Monster Hunter, which one would you like to see in Monster Hunter?
I can't say Tonfa, can I? Can I?
Well, it's
They're
not
in our Monster
currently,
Hunter
right?
game.
Say in Wilds.
True.
What would you like to see in Wilds?
Oh, in Wilds. Ooh. See, I'm of the opinion that it's a weapon that was in concept art only in MHGU. I really want to see the rapier and whistle, which was almost a thing. It turned into palamutes, the modern way we see them now, but it was a weapon that was designed to be basically a way to have a more controllable kinsect,
Right.
where you could order the dog to be in the different stances and attack in different ways,
Oh,
which
nice.
basically ended up being what palamutes are today. If you do certain attacks, you can control them. It was just
Yeah.
meant to be that, but a whole weapon.
Nice.
I'm very sad it didn't happen because it seems very cool.
We do have an opportunity for that though, right? Because we got this new weird mount.
Yeah,
Whatever.
if the if the flying chicken
The
ends up getting a weapon like that, I'd be very impressed.
the
But I
pet.
would like to see the rapier and whistle from
Nice.
MHGU's concept art.
Right. I'm just waiting for more Wilds info to drop because
We're all waiting.
I made a bunch of videos on, like, right after that first trailer dropped. I made like 4 videos. It was one long recording that I did, and I broke it up into 4 videos of just
Yeah.
every idea that people on the Discord server were just dumping out of their brains right after the trailer dropped.
Absolutely. And we do know you are a prominent leaker who does have inside information on Wilds, of course.
I have tons of inside information.
Wonderful.
I can't speak to the accuracy of that information, but
Oh, of course not. No, it's fine. It's confirmed either way. It's fine.
yes, it's all confirmed. Wilds is going to be crazy though. Like, well,
definitely. I'm very excited.
Let me just preface by saying this, and I said this in my videos. There's 3 different things. There's number 1, what I want Monster Hunter to become, right? And then there's what I think Capcom's going to do with the next game. And then the third thing is, what would I do if I got to make my own game? And so those are all 3 very different.
Yeah, I can imagine the project goal would be extremely different because Capcom, even though they do have a deep love of this product, it's sales first. No matter what happens, they're a company.
Yep.
If the game they make flops, no matter how much of a beautiful avant-garde piece it was, if it flops, they people get fired.
Exactly. Well, I don't think get fired, but they just won't make their money, right?
With the current sphere, they get fired. There's been quite a big trend recently in companies deciding that, we didn't meet our demands. We're just going to start lopping off crew for no reason.
Yeah, I think that's a whole other topic. It is very common. Capcom, I think, is a little different, especially with the Monster Hunter series.
Yes.
I can't see.
Yeah, Capcom's well behaved.
I don't think they're going to fire Kaname over this one. Like, if this one flops,
No.
he's not getting the axe. They'll just put him on another project.
Nuh-uh.
But those are 3 completely different angles, and I can't separate those in my head. They all bleed in together, and so like I just can't do it. So if I get an idea of what I think's going to be there, I don't know what slot that fits in, and so I really
is that something Capcom wants? Is that what you want, or is that what you think's going to happen?
Right,
it's
exactly.
Different.
Yeah, it's all just a big garbled mess. So yeah.
I mean, at least it sounds like you're very hopeful. You got a lot of good ideals towards the game.
I do.
I've been sadly quite pessimistic, but that's maybe just me being concerned that it's made by not GU's team.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Every time I see a game not made by GU, I worry.
With regard to the teams are all mushed in together, right? It's not, these 100 people are working on this one, and then for the next one it's separate 100 people. It's not like that.
Well, it's a weird yes and no. They are definitely separate teams, like from probably like a actually forming them extent, but they obviously work together. Otherwise, Sunbreak wouldn't have been Sunbreak.
Right.
And they obviously talk. And even more obviously, they absolutely chip in with each other and swap members. Otherwise, you
Sure.
wouldn't be seeing these qualities in one game suddenly jump over to another.
Right.
We wouldn't be seeing things like stick-on weapons entering Rise. If Rise
Right.
was done by GU's team alone, I would have expected things like custom weapons for Puke and Barroth, etc., etc.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't have added the stick-ons. So
Yeah.
there's obviously some overlay.
There's a lot, and there's a lot more than than what I think most people realize. Just because
Yes,
there's, first of all, there's this long history of this idea of two separate teams, running in parallel, and maybe they talk a little bit, obviously, but there's just this group of however many people in a room working on one game, and then there's this group of another distinct set of people working on the other game.
that's
And
nah.
if you just look at the history and the credits and everything, there's a ton of overlap in personnel. The
Absolutely.
distinction comes down between the directors. And
Directors, I was saying directors and developers. The lead directors are what changes it.
right, the lead,
I suspect.
right,
You
and
go on.
that's Ichinose versus Kaname. And
Yes,
so Ichinose did Generations, Ichinose did
3.
Rise,
Uh,
Kaname did World, and Kaname's doing Wilds.
yes.
Right. And so
It's not so much that there is a and B team, as many people love
right.
to use as words, A
Yeah.
team and B team. It's more so that the director probably ends up picking his staff,
Yes.
and everyone that director didn't pick is doing the next game.
Yeah.
Is most likely how it
Well,
ends up working.
well,
And then the teams will move around in between anyway.
yes. Yeah. Something like that. I mean,
But since we know that each Monster Hunter game is developed during another Monster Hunter game, right now
right.
with Rise and Sunbreak out, they've already been working on Wilds. Wilds has been receiving dev time all the time Rises and Sunbreaks existed.
Yes.
We know there is technically two teams, but they're not separate.
Right.
They're just two sets of people working on the games in tandem.
Right. And so, yeah, the idea of these two separate teams, the A-B thing is, well, the team that did Rise is also the same exact people who did, or largely the same people who did Generations, largely the same people
Yes.
who did whatever came before that.
Mhm.
And then, then all the way back to Portable and Portable 2 and Portable 3rd. And that's just
Yes.
not true. It's just not, it can't possibly be true. People come and go, right? Ichinose's
Mhm.
been there the whole time. Kaname's been there the whole time. There's a handful of people who've been on the Monster Hunter project that long, but they're always hiring new people and cycling them through and swapping back and forth and going to different projects. And so
Absolutely.
it just comes down to the directorial vision. And Kaname gets largely a blank check on his vision. And so
Mhm.
what do
They
you
really
think
do.
is going to happen for Wilds? Knowing all this, knowing it's a Kaname game, knowing they have sales expectations to meet, what do you think is going to happen here?
I'm semi-pessimistic, not because I think it's going to flop, nor do I think it's going to be a bad game. I don't believe either of those things. But I fear that the magic that made me love Generations and Rise will not be present. That doesn't mean the game's not going to be exciting and not going to be fun. It's going to be probably really good, and it's probably going to include a bunch of things from Rise that are really good. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have that same sort of, as many people love to say, unrealistic anime combat when it's really just this game has exciting moves and this game doesn't.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that either game's wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm fearful, since it is, of course, a Kaname game, that it may miss some of the things I appreciate about Gen and Rise. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It just means I need to approach the game differently.
Right.
A little thing, actually. I have never played Gunlance in a Kaname game. It's something I just don't really do. I don't like Kaname's vision for Gunlance.
Interesting.
So World, 4, I haven't played Gunlance in any of those games.
Nice. Yeah, that's an excellent point you bring up, because that's something else that a lot of people have trouble separating. Like, I have trouble, some things I have trouble separating, but that's one thing I don't have trouble separating. This idea of, right, my first Monster Hunter was a great experience. My second Monster Hunter, third, whatever, those early ones were really good for me. And the game has evolved so much throughout the years. A lot of people have trouble accepting the fact that each new Monster Hunter game is a brand new game. It's not just a revision or a patch, right? Or a incremental improvement on the previous one. It's a completely new video game.
Absolutely. And this speaks a lot to people, the so common rhetoric of World 2,
Yeah.
which isn't real and
Right.
will never happen.
Right.
We are simply going to get another Kaname game, which will have
Right.
several of the features the world does, because that's another game he made.
Yeah. And it'll be titled Monster Hunter.
Yeah, that's the other common thing.
And it
And
won't.
hopefully all the weapons are still in it.
Yeah.
And by all of them, I mean Prowler too.
That would be cool. I think it's
Yeah,
going to be
definitely.
the Paloraptor though, right?
Oh, Palraptor. I was the one who called it Palraptor. I
Yeah.
called it that too. The
Nice.
Palraptor.
Um,
Yeah, so I feel like there's going to be at least one weapon in Wild I like, and as long as that's the case, I won't mind. But
Yeah.
I might not be Gunlance, because the so-called A and B teams, actually just Kaname and Ichinose,
Yeah.
have different visions for the weapons, because Ichinose's hunting horn very clearly is not Kaname's.
Yeah. Speaking of weapons across one version to the next, something that really, I don't know, it's just one of these little things that bugs me along the lines of each new game being like a sequel or like a revision. People will talk about how weapons, they get nerfed from one game to the next.
I know exactly how you feel on that one. As somebody who's played GU, I know exactly how you feel. Oh, the amount of times I heard Gunlance has been nerfed. From what? Where? And then I go to World and I hear, oh, Gunlance has been buffed, except it hasn't, because that's not Gunlance. It doesn't have Valor. It doesn't have Dragon's Breath. It's not the same thing.
It's like as if you could take your old Gunlance and just bring it into the new game.
Just bring it straight to World. I can't do that. Yeah. As soon as they let me port my character, I'll say that's the same weapon, but not until then.
Right. And that's part of the, we just can't accept that this is a new game. This is a different game. But yeah, we got nerfed.
A lot of the community does that.
And Gunlance is like a bit, everyone loves to bitch about Gunlance though, right? But
so many people, it's one of the worst plagues on earth.
There's a big Gunlance YouTuber.
Does his name start with C?
Yeah, I think that's the one. Either him or or
I know the one.
There's Ryu too, right? Isn't he Gunlance?
Yeah, there's Ryu, Rurikan, and that one too.
Yeah, I want to say it was Ryu, but I think both Ryu and Calcera were doing this. Like right when Rise came out, they put out these videos talking about, how Gunlance has been nerfed. Gunlance,
there's so much sensationalism in Sao's content. I can't speak on Ruri because that's a lot more opinionated. But Sao's content is so much either sensationalism, just outright not true things, or things that are only true if you look at them through a very specific lens. It's all napkin maths to an extent where he can't be truthful to the casual community and he can't be truthful to the meta community either. It's so strange to me.
And people like him who are, prominent in the community, when they say something early on, it just keeps getting picked up and repeated. And now that everyone just assumes that, that's how it is. And
yes, there are so many examples.
Yeah.
So many. Especially Sao Slayer.
Yeah.
I mean, look at just like when Sunbreak was like just starting and Base Rise was winding down, the amount of blatantly untrue things we got, like a wide full burst, that's something he said. Barrioth Gunlance being meta, also not true. Pretty sure he made several Bullet Barrage videos that just outright excluded several shelling bonuses. It's like just nothing made sense.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's wrong. He can do the game as he likes.
Yeah.
But when it's peddled as this is the meta, this is a good what to follow, that can't be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so much. It's just the peddling of, oh, I know the right way, follow me. And these people don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot of that though, don't we? But we are running out of time. I would love to have you on again to talk about some of these other topics because, we do from time to time deal with some issues like that on the Discord server. Not very often, but we get some guests on there sometimes that don't really understand
the uninvited guests.
how we
I was one of them once.
How we operate.
There was a time when I turned up and asked, how come we're not all doing meta stuff here?
Exactly.
Because I was wrong.
But thank you very much for
it was a real honor to be here. I have a little thing I'd like to announce really, really quickly just before this ends.
Absolutely.
I will have a quick surprise teaser for everyone listening about the next Peanut Guide.
Nice.
The next Peanut Guide is going to be on World Hunting Horn.
World Hunting Horn.
Yes.
World.
I'm going to cover World Hunting Horn.
World Hunting Horn.
Yes. Nice. I may also cover GU Hunting Horn afterwards, since I also played that a ton, but specifically World Hunting Horn is the next guide. So
Uh,
if there's any corner horners out there, don't worry, I'll help. I promise I won't just say you're wrong.
That's a great idea. And someone was asking about World Sword and Shield too. So if you ever get a chance to check that
I've
out.
never played it.
uh,
Another big problem, I play so
yeah,
few weapons that the
yeah.
information I do know is kind of just limited to what I do.
Yeah, that's fine. It's very deep. So definitely, if you are not a member of the Discord, come on and join. And once you get in, if you're already a Discord member, check out the peanut guides. Awesome information. One last thing I do want to say, you've been actually very accessible. So it's pretty easy to get a hold of you and have conversations. And I always enjoy and appreciate the feedback that you do give me. So thank you very much for that too.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm just really glad to help this community in any way I can.
And we are glad you're here. So that's all we got from Peanut. We will be right back with the hot take of the day. Well, this thing is shaping up to be a regular podcast, isn't it? We've done comments, we've done news items, we've had our guest. Wow. I think I might be onto something here. There is one last segment that we're going to get to before we sign off. And this one is called the hot take of the day. Now, since last week we didn't have a hot take of the day or hot take of the week, or we didn't have a hot take last week, I don't have your responses to a hot take. But next week I'm going to read your responses to this hot take of the day. All right. And so you guys know what hot takes are. They're just spicy opinions that you came up with on the fly and didn't really put too much thought into, but they're going to be triggering. They're going to get people maybe a little upset. I did have a hot take in a recent video, a bit of a sarcastic video. And so here it is. The meta chasers in Monster Hunter are all participating in a massive group role play. Yeah, this is from my apology video. The idea is that the meta crowd, they're all pretending to be really good at the game and pretending to be really knowledgeable at the game. And so whenever you see them come into your Discord server, or you go into their Discord server, or you see them on a particular subreddit, everyone there is pretending like they're better at the game than they are. They're pretending like they're capable of doing things, many of which are not actually possible to do in the game. And we, the people who aren't part of the role play, can't really tell that they're all role playing, right? We can't tell who's part of this and who's not. That's the hot take of the day. What do you think of that? Have you experienced this in your Discord? Have you experienced this on the internet? Have you experienced this even in the game itself? Somebody come into your hub or join your quest, and they'll come in with their speedrun gear or their meta gear or whatever it is, and they'll run to the monster and they'll cart real quick. And then when they get back to camp, they'll apologize, like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to eat, or I brought the wrong gear, or oh yeah, my dog hit the controller, unplugged my controller, or something like that. There'll just be some excuse as to why they didn't just instantly, get 500 DPS and solo the monster for you. Have you seen that in game? Anything like that? Someone pretending to be something that they're not actually, pretending to be capable of something they're not capable of doing. Let me know. So there you have it, folks. Another episode of the Grind Chamber in the can, as no one says. In the can? What? This isn't Hollywood. I want to thank our special guest Peanut for coming on and talking to us today. I want to thank everyone out there listening for clicking on this video and liking and subscribing to the channel and my other gaming channels. I want to thank everyone who joined the Discord and everyone who participates in the awesome conversations we have over there. Hope you're having fun in whatever adventures you are on right now. I will see you guys in my next video and in the next podcast, probably a week from now. Good night.